I ended up visiting the shop of an exceptionally beautiful woman, Emily, both in work and private life. She always served with a smile. Half a year since we first met, I plucked up the courage to ask her out for a meal. It was a shot in the dark, but she accepted with a smile. At that moment, I decided on a strategy. On the day of the dinner, she greeted me with a smile, but suddenly widened her eyes looking behind me. My name is Ethan. I'm a recent mid-career hire at Solid Wood Inc., a 30-year-old who manufactures and sells handmade furniture. To expand sales channels from internet sales and small exhibition space on their property and wholesaling to local small stores, they were hiring a sales position to expand distribution channels, which I jumped to. Why did I, who had been doing small business accounting, get interested in furniture sales? It all started with an encounter a year ago. At the time, wanting to replace my apartment table, I was visiting furniture stores. Quite fond of interiors, and having a bit of pickiness about tables, it was hard to decide. Then, a large furniture store was hosting a handmade furniture fair. Being handmade, it was pricey. It seemed out of place in my small apartment, but the solid wood tables were all beautiful. Thinking looking was free, I slowly toured the store. Then, I was approached by a female staff member, looking for something. Turning around, a stunning beauty was smiling at me. Even with natural makeup, her long, densely lashed slanted double eyelids, and the simple combination of shirt and pants accentuated her figure. I was flustered by the sudden appearance of the beauty. No, looking for a table, but they seemed too expensive for me. I rambled more than asked. The beauty, unfazed, said, "Indeed, handmade furniture is expensive but nice, isn't it? The warm atmosphere of natural wood and the craftsmanship." Then, she gestured towards a small item in her palm. "If it's something affordable you're after, this small piece might suit you. Though small, each is carefully crafted, and just having one can make you feel happy," she suggested. Drawn by her smile, her love-filled words about the furniture, and above all, the beauty of solid wood, I picked up a remote control rack. Fluttering tag read Solid Wood Inc. I took a Solid Wood Inc. brochure home and perused it. Also did various online searches. Every product was without exception beautiful. Since then, I visited Solid Wood Inc.'s website many times, noticing an update in recruitment information. Clicking, I found sales positions being recruited. Hence, I applied eagerly. Maybe because furniture sales job wasn't very popular, or perhaps Solid Wood Inc. acknowledged my enthusiasm. Though I had no experience in sales, always having worked in accounting, I was hired. For a while, it was a learning period, studying materials provided by colleagues, visiting our showroom. Under the condition of not being a nuisance, I was even allowed to observe craftsmen making furniture. From large wood, various furniture was born. Shelves, tables, and even small items like trivets and tissue cases. Watching all sorts of furniture being made by many craftsmen was never tiring, and my eyes always, somehow, ended up captivated by a certain craftsman's movements. Oliver, a craftsman in his 70s, treated wood lovingly, changing tools while crafting furniture from solid wood. Lately, he's been making tables, working on the lead parts to be attached to a large single slab of solid wood, burning some pattern onto the parts with a small tool. When I peeked in with interest, the craftsman glanced sharply at me. Sorry, was I in the way?" As I began to step back, Oliver asked, "Not really. Anything catch your eye?" My eyes lit up as I started to explain enthusiastically. "It's not just interest, it's admiration. Watching your hands move so swiftly, transforming the wood, I could watch all day and not get bored. And Oliver, your work clearly shows your love for the wood." As I was about to continue, Oliver chuckled and held up his palm towards my face. Stop, it's embarrassing. You're the new guy, right?" I reintroduced myself, although I had already made an introduction during the morning assembly on my first day. "Yes. My name is Ethan, and I'm in sales." With that, Oliver gave a light laugh and went back to his work. Not sure if it was all right to ask, but taking the chance since we were talking, I inquired, "What are you doing now?" Asking while looking at the pattern carved into the table leg, Oliver hummed and without looking at me, replied, "Well, it's kinda like a talisman. It's such a beautiful pattern. It's a shame. That part will be hidden once it's attached to the tabletop, won't it? Oliver chuckled again. If I carved it where it could be seen, I'd get scolded by the boss. Understanding that as furniture being made for solid wood ink, personal patterns couldn't be carved. But then, he shouldn't carve at all. Maybe it's a sense of playfulness. Like here's my mark, hidden where no one can see. I interpreted it that way and then kept quiet. After about a week of learning like this, I was allowed to accompany a senior colleague on a business negotiation. Nathan, the colleague, complained a man. I switched to office work because I hated sales, and now I'm back in sales again. Shouldn't have written that I had sales experience on my resume. It seems when Solid Wood Inc. decided to expand its sales channels, they saw Nathan's resume and reassigned him to sales, and he submitted a wish to return to office work once I become capable in sales. Hurry up and learn, Ethan. Patted on the back, I nodded affirmatively. Today's sales destination was a small shop dealing in unique furniture and goods. The owner, who had eagerly requested to stock Solid Wood Inc.'s furniture when the shop was established, managed it. This time, the negotiation was about getting the shop to display larger furniture items. Even though it's a small shop, our furniture sells well there. Must be doing something right. So, they want us to sell bigger items. Nathan briefed me on the instructions from above. He then pointed his index finger in front of me. The owner is incredibly beautiful but not the most cheerful type. Don't interrupt. Just learn how to negotiate. I nodded. I felt a bit tense as we arrived at the shop. Before opening, the shop was neatly cleaned, and the small potted plants displayed were blooming with beautiful flowers. The shop's sign and the retro, elegant pots reflected the owner's good taste. I entered with the sound of chimes. The shop was filled with antique items and handmade goods, with larger tables and sofas arranged towards the back. Though small for a furniture store, the selected pieces made the shop's size seem just right. A shop I'd like to visit outside of work. Soon, a woman who seemed to be the owner came out from the back. Seeing her, I was surprised. As Nathan said, the incredibly beautiful woman was the reason I became interested in Solid Wood Inc.'s furniture. At a large furniture fair, she had lovingly recommended Solid Wood Inc.'s furniture. That beauty. We were led to a small back room with a few small sofa sets. You're new here, right? I'm Emily, the owner. She introduced herself, offering her business card with her left hand, which wore a white glove. She smiled, saying she always wears it on her left hand to avoid touching furniture directly. Naturally, Emily didn't remember me. The urge to tell her about that time surged, but I remembered being told not to interrupt and to learn from the negotiation. I suppressed my feelings, introduced myself briefly, and Nathan and Emily began their business discussion. What I'd like to request this time is this chest of drawers. Nathan handed over a document with several chest of drawers listed and explained. Emily quietly listened to Nathan's presentation. Nathan was reading directly from the document without adding any explanations of his own. As I wondered why he wasn't explaining in his own words, suddenly, Emily spoke up. What are the dimensions of the chest of drawers you want to place? Nathan, who had been reading from the document, looked up and muttered, "Huh?" Seeing Emily silent, Nathan glanced back down at the document. Don't you know the size without looking at the document? A cold voice flew at us, making me startle. Nathan froze as well. Don't you even know the size of the product you are trying to sell without looking at the document? Emily asked again slowly and clearly, causing Nathan to fumble and remain speechless. Seeing this, Emily, seemingly exasperated, firmly stated, all the products we deal with here are filled with the seller's and maker's passion. I thought I'd stock from Solid Wood Inc. because of its products, but it seems you lack love for Solid Wood Inc.'s furniture. Dropping the document on the table, she declared, would you mind leaving for today? Then, I found myself speaking. The width is 25, depth 16, height 41 inches. Emily and Nathan looked at me simultaneously. You must have looked at the document, right? Emily said coldly. What about the Paulownia chest of drawers? Prompted again, I spoke up. The Paulownia chest of drawers has a width of 39, depth of 17, and the height for 7 drawers is 23.5 for 10 drawers is 33 inches. Emily's eyes widened. I love solid wood is furniture, and I have memorized all the standard sizes. While solid wood is strength is in the custom-made furniture that doesn't have set standards, the craftsmanship that precisely follows these dimensions is also admirable. I accidentally went on at length. Noticing Emily and Nathan's gazes, I panicked. I'm sorry for overstepping my bounds as an apprentice. As I flistered, Emily smiled. True, you may not be good at sales talk, but I felt your love for the furniture. Getting ahead of myself, I said, the reason I fell in love with solid wood is furniture was because of you, Emily. Me. Emily pointed to herself. When I recounted the event at the large furniture fair, Emily remembered. Oh, that fair. I got carried away with excitement because I could sell solid wood is furniture just for that event. It's a bit embarrassing. To think my service made you interested enough to switch careers to furniture sales. That's delightful. Blushing slightly, she gave me a warm smile, making my face turn red. I really get passionate when explaining about solid wood is meticulously and delicately made furniture. Emily's face shadowed for some reason. It caused me to look down as well. Glancing at Emily's business card, I realized it was almost time to open. It's almost opening time. Ethan, right. Looking at my business card, Emily called me by my name. Yes. I replied loudly to being called. We'll place the Paulownia chest of drawers, the 10-drawer one. Nathan, I'll need help moving other furniture when it's delivered, so please assist during delivery. With that exchange, we left the back room. Expressing our thanks at the entrance, Emily looked at me with a bright smile and waved my business card. I'll be in touch. Her smile knocked me out. On the way back to solid wood there was an awkward silence. I had spoken out of turn despite being told not to, but that led to a successful negotiation. As I kept silent, not knowing what to say, Nathan murmured to himself, I wonder if the Paulownia chest of drawers will sell. Looking around, I said, I think it will sell. Nathan looked at me and said, that hilltop area is a high-end residential area, right? You see quite a few nice cars parked around here too. I guess the location is good. Some houses had pools and trampolines in the backyard too. Surprised, Nathan exclaimed. You're very observant. I laughed self-deprecatingly. It seemed I had spoken too much. Sometimes, people find it creepy. I've guessed things like minor arguments between my parents or a teacher's bad mood. Nathan patted my back hard and said, don't worry about the past. It's a special skill for sales. I need to work harder too. Nathan's words made me feel a bit lighter. Then, I looked at Emily's business card. I had managed to confirm something I wanted to know. Months later, I discussed sales strategies with Nathan. Instead of blindly placing our furniture in large stores, it seemed more fitting for our furniture to be cataloged in custom home builders' offices. Recommending our furniture to people building custom homes seemed like it could lead to orders. This proposal went up for Nathan, and recently there's been a slight increase in sales to construction companies. The response has been very positive, making work more enjoyable. And so, I found myself visiting Emily's shop frequently, both for work and personal reasons. I wanted to take a closer look at the knickknacks during my off hours that I had seen while working. Emily always greeted me with a smile. 6 months since our first meeting, I mustered the courage to ask Emily out to dinner. Though it was a long shot, she accepted with a smile. On the day of the dinner, I arrived at a small restaurant with private rooms to find Emily already waiting. She smiled at my arrival but was taken aback by someone behind me. Grandpa. The man was addressed. He was the furniture craftsman Oliver, looking uncomfortably evasive. What? Why? Confused, Emily looked at me for an explanation. The business card Emily had given me during our first negotiation bore the shop's logo. I recognized that logo. Recalling it, the image of a pattern carved into wood came to mind. The pattern Oliver had been engraving on the leg of a table. I wondered whether to ask Emily or Oliver for confirmation, and I chose to ask Oliver. Do you know Emily? My question startled Oliver, normally stoic, to the point of dropping his tools. He told me she was his granddaughter he hadn't seen in a long time. Oliver, Emily's maternal grandfather, had occasionally looked after her in her childhood. With his wife having passed away, Emily's mother would sometimes bring her over, thinking it would be lonely for him alone. Oliver enjoyed DIY as a hobby at home, and Emily often watched or drew pictures with him. Oliver was skilled with his hands and good at drawing. One day, Oliver excused himself to the restroom. He usually tidies up before stepping away, but with a bad stomachache, he hurried to the bathroom. He left his carving knife behind. Young Emily watched and as her grandfather skillfully carved pictures into wood with that knife. She wished she could try it too. Likely feeling as casual about it as drawing with crayons, she must have picked up the carving knife. What Oliver returned to was Emily, bleeding from her left hand, screaming in pain. At the restaurant's private dining room, the salad had just been served. As Emily awkwardly served it, she mumbled, "Back then, Grandpa scolded me so harshly, telling me never to come to his house again." I frowned. It seems he decided never to meet again, burdened by the guilt of leaving a scar on a girl's body. Emily paused momentarily. Indeed, a faint scar was visible on the hand holding the small salad plate. Really? Wasn't he angry? Mom said Grandpa is so stubborn. Once he's set his mind, nothing can change it. She said only time could heal it. One day, after Oliver's unbending attitude led to Emily's mom protesting, it resulted in estranging the relationship between mother and grandfather, never meeting again since. The grandmother, who could have mediated, had passed away, leaving the relationship still strained. Oliver wasn't angry but was punishing himself, I explained. Emily looked puzzled. Why? It was my fault, wasn't it? Oliver believed that leaving the dangerous carving knife out, allowing you to hurt yourself, was primarily his fault, and that he was responsible for the scar you now bear. That's why both you and Oliver have always cared for each other. I continued, showing her something on my phone. Emily was surprised. This mark? I smiled. It's a secret code that was born while you and Oliver were drawing together. He's always been carving this mark on the unseen parts of furniture. As I said that, Emily's eyes welled up with tears. Your shop's logo has been slightly altered, but it's based on this mark, isn't it? As I pulled out Emily's business card, she nodded in agreement. Even when scolded and told never to come back, I still loved my grandpa. Despite my mom telling me to forget about him, I couldn't. Unable to forget her grandfather, who joyfully crafted furniture, Emily became a furniture store clerk. One day, she was thrilled to handle her grandfather's work. Solid wood ink is furniture at a fair since her shop only sold online or directly. Disappointed it couldn't be a permanent arrangement due to the cost, Emily decided to open her own shop, meticulously planning and researching the location to open where it stands today. She thought her shop could handle solid wood ink, is unique furniture and antiques. She didn't disclose her relationship with Oliver to solid wood ink. Since Oliver always worked in the back, he and Emily never crossed paths during business meetings. Thus, years passed, their deep affections for each other unacknowledged, leading to a prolonged absence. Oliver, initially boasting, "I've decided never to meet my granddaughter again," changed his tune to "I want to meet her" after I showed him Emily's business card, suggesting she might want to reconcile. Despite Oliver's usual stern demeanor, he looked endearingly vulnerable at that moment. As Emily and Oliver slowly began to converse, Oliver suddenly stood up. "I'm going home," and he turned away. Wondering if something had offended him, I too hastily stood up to look at Oliver. Tears were welling up in Oliver's eyes. Perhaps being with Emily any longer would make him cry. A bit of alcohol might have also played a part. I gave her a smile, reassured Emily with the "it's okay" hand signal, and walked Oliver out of the restaurant. Upon returning inside, I noticed Emily appeared uneasy. I reassured Emily with a smile. He said the shop's too stylish for him, offering a playful excuse that eased her worry. Next time, he'll be waiting at home. This was indeed a message entrusted by Oliver. The moment Emily heard those words, she burst into tears. I can finally go to Grandpa's house. She had been banned from entering her grandfather's house for years. The words "I'll be waiting at home" were the ones Emily wanted to hear the most, and surely, they were the words Oliver had longed to say. After shedding tears for a while, Emily took my hand in gratitude. "Ethan, thank you." I shook my head. I just got a bit curious when your expression darkened while talking about how much you loved solid wood ink as pieces. Then, noticing the same logo, I realized, it's great you could reconcile. With a light heart, I took a sip of beer. You're very observant, noticing the logo and my expressions. Her comment made me feel a bit startled. Was my keen observation creepy to her? I wonder if Emily feels the same way. Had I overstepped? Emily stroked the back of her left hand. The scar was right there. Every time I saw the scar, it reminded me of being scolded by Grandpa, making me sad. That's why I always wore gloves. I recalled the day. This was the day I first visited Emily's shop with Nathan. When she handed me her business card with her left hand, covered with a white glove, to avoid touching the furniture with bare hands. I said, and Emily laughed. Indeed, you remember well. Well, I do wear gloves for maintenance. The main reason was to keep the scar out of sight. But thanks to you, I might not need to worry about it much anymore. Emily extended her left hand forward, looking pleased. Instinctively, I took her left hand and lightly kissed the scar. Huh? What? Startled by Emily's scream, I snapped back to reality. Realizing I had done something incredibly bold sobered me up instantly. Oh, sorry. I just thought it looked beautiful, and spontaneously. Beautiful? What's so beautiful about a scar? Seriously. In the stylish restaurant's private room, we both blushed, flustered. Pouting, Emily muttered, "You're responsible now, you know." Seeing my puzzled look, Emily pursed her lips. "Do you do this sort of thing to anyone?" Caught off guard, I vigorously shook my head. "I can only do this for a woman I love. I've liked you since the first time we met, when you were so lovingly recommending solid wood ink as pieces." After courageously speaking my heart, Emily, bashfully curious, peeked up and smiled. "I love solid wood ink, too, and I love how you always pay attention to me, Ethan. Take responsibility," she said, extending her left hand toward me. "I swear to make you happy," I declared, kissing her extended hand once more. A year later, Emily and I are getting married in a chapel overlooking the sea. We exchanged vows. Our wedding rings were prepared by Oliver, crafted by Oliver, Emily's grandpa. These wooden rings were made from the maple tree he planted in his garden on Emily's birthday, October 13. Naturally, that special logo was engraved on the outside. When Emily and I decided to have our wedding rings made of wood and asked Oliver to craft them, he shyly suggested using the birth tree he planted in his garden on the day Emily was born. It was a ring filled with love, the only one of its kind in the world. Sliding the ring onto Emily's left ring finger, I gently kissed the back of her hand. The murmur in the venue was a bit embarrassing, but Emily smiled at me. Then, a ring made by Oliver was placed on my finger as well. The wooden ring would gradually change color, eventually turning into a beautiful, warm amber hue. Like this ring, Emily and I aimed to build a warm and loving home together. As I lifted Emily's veil and we shared our vows with a kiss, my heart was already walking toward a happy future.